Okay, now we'll talk about Odile Decq, uh, also born on July 18th. We talked previously about Carlo Imonino. Now we'll talk about Odile Decq, and we'll end the presentations today with Valerio Olgiati. But let's read a little bit about Odile Decq, born in 1955 in Laval, France. Is a French architect, urban planner, and academic. She's the founder, I'm sorry, of the Paris firm Studio Odile Decq and the architecture school Confluence Institute. Decq is known for her unique, self-described goth appearance and style. And indeed, her appearance is, could be described as, goth or gothic or neo-gothic, although perhaps not. But this is how in the media, this kind of, someone even described here as a punk rock architect. Here she is, a serious architect, a rebellious architect, and a rebellious educator. She founded the Confluence Institute in order to, fight against the conformism of many other architecture schools in France. Happy birthday to you, Odile Decq. She's a force in architecture, and I think we need non-conformism, vigorous non-conformism, like the one that she represented, that she represents. Some drawings of Odile Decq. She's a courageous architect who is a militant architect. She fights for what she believes in, and I think we need architects like Odile Decq in the world, initiators of alternative architectures or alternative educational ways in architecture. Now, 1990, Banque Populaire de l'Ouest, the folk bank or the popular bank of the West, BPO, Administrative and Social Centers, Rennes, France, 1990, so 33 years ago. This is the building. You could have said almost that it's a building by Sir Norman Foster, but it is not, but it is a kind of a high-tech building. I think I read that she was influenced by the high-tech architecture of Great Britain. Apparently not so developed in France at the time. Lots of glass. The eternally seductive glass, which allows for significant losses of energy, thus appreciable amounts of money being spent on energy. This is the result of using a lot of glass. It's not the most sustainable building material at all. But at that time, I guess the interest in sustainability was not even mentioned. Scenography, stage design of the French Pavilion, Venice Biennial of Architecture, 1996. No pictures. Unfortunately, the University of Nantes, Formation Center, Library and Science Building, 1998. Here it is. From what I read, she had a partner, they worked together, and he died in a car accident, and she continued alone, showing that there are women architects who can very easily build and conceptualize and fight even for a different education. We know what happened in Barcelona when Eric Miralles died, and Bernadette Ataliabuye continued the work that their office was engaged in and continued brilliantly. If we consider just the building of the parliament in Edinburgh. Viaduct and Operation Center for the A14 motorway, Nanterre, France, 1999. She loves red, as you can see. And who wouldn't love red? You know, it's like chocolate. It's almost. It's hard to imagine life without the color red, which symbolizes in European alchemy the king, the sun, love, passion, south, the cardinal point south, and you know, it's hard to imagine life without the color red. But unfortunately, there are many people afraid of too much passion, afraid of too much love, afraid of the sun, even afraid of the vitality that the color red symbolizes. The redness of life. Redevelopment and furniture design of the UNESCO Conference Hall in Paris, 2001. So these pieces of furniture were designed by Odile Decq as well, not just the space. The Greenland Pavilion in Shanghai in China, 2007. This is the model. This is the building. some redness again. Odile Decq in Shanghai. I wonder, I wonder what Mao Zedong would have thought about this building. Macro, Museum of Contemporary Art of Rome, Italy, extension and renovation, 2010. Redness again. The red of passion, the red of rebellion, the red of blood. Some whiteness as well. Well, the white walls of museums, we all know them, waiting desperately for the art to step in, because otherwise these white walls are just not enough. Glass, again, large surfaces of glass requiring air conditioning. No window opens. And the deviant art of the rebellious, Odile Decq, the punk rock artist or architect, the Phantom, l'Opéra restaurant of the Opéra Garnier in Paris, 2011. So she had this intervention inside the great building by Garnier, Charles Garnier. Redness again and whiteness. Now we look at the building outside and we look at the building inside, and yes, they do not really reflect each other, but maybe harmony through contrast. I almost said the site plan, and it's not really a site plan, but you know, maybe any plan could be called a site plan. FRAC, Bretagne, Regional Contemporary Art Fund in Rennes, in France, 2012. Redness again at the bottom. Well, here on the left, we see something maybe inspired by the Jewish Museum by Daniel Lipskind in Berlin. headquarter GL events in Lyon in 2014. Touches of redness here as well. Otherwise, steel and glass. Interesting labyrinth here. Giant steel beams. Lots of steel here. And of course, the impressive cantilever part. Many architects these days use cantilever architectures to escape, maybe an overwhelming static, aesthetics that could be invitations towards non-freedom, maybe. And then through the cantilever, we reclaim a certain degree of freedom, real or imagined. Palladio didn't need any cantilevers to create a beautiful architecture, but it seems for us today to create, dramatic or less dramatic cantilevers is a way to assert some quest for a non-gravitational architecture or for freedom in essence, but maybe it's just an illusion. After all, the gravity is our only certitude. But I like very much this viscerality still. It's cryptical, it's labyrinthical. Not a very sustainable building. I mean, this forest of steel columns were not very inexpensive. Pentania, mix of residential buildings and individual houses. Lille, France, 2015. Not too much redness here, just white and grayness. And the passerby moving. But the inside shows an appetite for color, although yellow, from what I read, is the most aggressive color. Attention, perhaps, that yellowness exclaims. Finally, some redness. This is a museum of geology and anthropology in China, Nanjing, 2015. These museums often look like airports, glittering surfaces, hard to maintain. And then the spectacle of escalators and, very tall, spacious atriums, culminating at the top with a vast skylight. And then on the ground, remnants of some thought and feeling for nature. Then two sloping prisms, reminding one of the towers built by Philip Johnson in Madrid, the Gate of Europe. Odile Decq in China. Maison Bernard. This was a renovation of a work done by someone else, Anti Lovak's Bubble Palace. Psychedelic building almost, and she just renovated it in 2015. And here it is. She didn't actually build this house, she renovated it. Welcome to Hieronymus Bosch. Confluence Institute for Innovation and Creative Strategies in Architecture School in Lyon, renovation and rehabilitation. An ambitious educational project. I understood she paid with her own money for a lot of things here. Bravo to her. She wanted to, reform education in architecture. Would the red chairs help the students to become more innovative, even idiosyncratically so? Maybe, or maybe not. Anyway, a very courageous enterprise, to fight off the paralyzed modes of thinking, that is, non-thinking. An artist residence in Saint-Onge, 2015. Well, a rather well-to-do artist. The blackness seems to suggest a certain misanthropy, maybe the citadel of art. The black ivory tower. I wonder if Vincent van Gogh would have had such an atelier. Do you think he would have been a better painter? Le Cargo, Offices and Startup Incubator, Paris, France, 2016. Maison de Verre, à Carantec. The glass house, ophthalmologists. I like this view of the house, but the inside is a little bit less spectacular, more predictable. Very luminous indeed, maybe too luminous. There seems to be a little bit more drama outside of the building than inside. Maybe if there was a little bit more shadow inside and the more conflictual elements, it would have been a little better. And now we arrive at the Sentinelle in Montpellier, France, a mixed project integrating a restaurant, art gallery, boutique, workshop, co-working on 2 levels and rooftop. This is the building. In the project, she won a competition with it. Montpellier, it was described on her website, dynamic city. So, in the heart of a young, dynamic, and constantly changing metropolis, Figure de Proue invests an urban neglect forced to implement an ambitious and innovative program that takes the form of a bold architectural gesture that makes the neighborhood unique. Maybe we all need from time to time to make such bold architectural gestures that make neighborhoods unique. So let's wish her happy birthday. Thank you.